Hi, I want to talk about Lord Byron, George Gordon. Byron is arguably the first rock star. You know, live fast, die young, leave a good-looking corpse. Well, I'm not sure he wanted to die. But that's kind of how it went. He was a personality, a larger-than-life personality. He was not a rock star, he was a poet. Imagine that. Well, here's what happened. He created a poem called Childe Harold's Pilgrimage, which I'm asking you to read part of for our class. The poem was really a sensation. Now, it's a story, but it's a story in which not a lot actually happens. It's a story about character, personality, if you will. And that's why I talk about the idea of the rock star. Byron created what later we call the Byronic hero. Now, a hero, like, say, a Superman character, the cowboy with the white hat, is a good guy, virtuous. He embodies the values of a culture. The Byronic hero, on the other hand, is not quite such a good guy. In fact, he is completely amoral. You might say immoral, but immoral suggests a sense of morality that's being violated. With the Byronic hero, he is above the sense of normal human morality. And he lives a fast life, drinks too much, sleeps with way too many women or men, and is all about experience. Byron is the poet of experience, the ultimate romantic in that respect. Now, when Byron wrote Childe Harold's Pilgrimage, he was imitating the work of Sir Edmund Spenser. Now, if you've never heard of Spenser, he is roughly a contemporary of Shakespeare. He wrote a very influential poem called The Faerie Queene. Spenser himself was influenced by Chaucer. And so Spenser used an archaic form of English, of Middle English, at least what he thought was Middle English, the language of Chaucer. He didn't get it quite right, so he sort of invented his own English, if you will. Also, he invented a stanza form, 9 lines long, 8 lines of iambic pentameter, and then a 9th line, which is slightly longer, 1 meter longer, iambic hexameter. What this does is it creates units. These stanzas are, in some ways, standalone units. They can be read just by themselves. It has an integrated rhyme scheme that ties the ideas together. At first, Byron decided also to imitate the archaic language of Spenser, but eventually he dropped that. So when you read Canto 1, there is some language which is deliberately old, even old for Byron's time. Cantos 1 and 2 were published. And this character, Childe Harold, this rebel without a cause, if you will, to use another phrase, made Byron famous. As he says famously, he woke up one morning to find he was famous. I mean, just like that, right? It was famous. He became famous because this was so appealing. This rebel, James Dean, Jim Morrison, whoever your favorite rebel is, who just rejects the standards of society. He wants to live life to the fullest. This is a very dangerous character, just as Byron himself was very dangerous. And in fact, a lot of people read Childe Harold as kind of a very thinly veiled allusion to the actual life that Lord Byron himself was leading. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. He didn't like that idea. He wanted to insist that this was a fictional creation. It just happened to be everything like him, including a very important aspect of the Byronic hero, and that is some great, deep, torturous secret. Something that he carries with him. He does something so wrong that is even beyond the wrongs of normal humanity. In Byron's case, historically, I should say, he was in love with his own half-sister. In his defense, he didn't know her when they were growing up, yada, yada, yada. It still has an icky factor that's right through the ceiling. And in fact, he had a number of other things going on, which caused him to have to leave England. So, Childe Harold leaves England too. And Childe Harold has a forbidden love. He also has a daughter. Byron I'm talking about now. He had probably a lot of kids, but particularly he had a daughter who factors in the poem, whom he misses, regrets not being around for, and yet leaves behind, never to see her again in his life. The poem itself, don't look for action, don't look for plot, don't look for characters to interact. It's all about pose. It's all about attitude. It's all about the feeling and the experience. Childe Harold is drawn to nature, and not just the sweet nature of William Wordsworth. Big stuff, big mountains, right? It's all big. It's all the biggest. So, please enjoy reading. I would say one thing about this. I think Byron is meant to be read at a fast pace, which is not to say not to understand what you're reading, but to not delve into the details, the fine nitty-gritty that we do sometimes with other poets. It's all about how you feel. There you go.